Have you ever felt your heart beating so fast it feels like it might burst out of your chest? That racing heartbeat, the shallow breathing, the overwhelming sense of dread that washes over you like a tidal wave. For many seniors, this experience isn't occasional. It's a daily companion that follows them from the moment they open their eyes in the dawn hours, which should bring hope and renewal, instead become the breeding ground for anxiety that can color the entire day ahead. What many don't realize is that their morning routine might actually be feeding this anxiety monster rather than taming it. The small, seemingly innocent habits we cultivate upon waking can have profound effects on our mental well-being, especially as we age. Our bodies change, our brain chemistry shifts, and suddenly the coping mechanisms that served us well in our younger years no longer provide the support we need. For elderly individuals, anxiety doesn't always present itself in the ways we typically expect. It can masquerade as irritability, as physical complaints, as resistance to daily activities, or even as memory problems that might be mistaken for cognitive decline. The morning hours are particularly vulnerable times. The transition from sleep to wakefulness can trigger a cascade of stress hormones if we're not careful about how we approach this delicate shift. The 5 morning habits we'll discuss today might seem harmless or even productive on the surface, but for seniors struggling with anxiety, they can be the hidden saboteurs of emotional well-being. What makes these habits particularly dangerous is their subtlety. They don't announce themselves as harmful. In fact, many are celebrated in our productivity-obsessed culture as virtues rather than vices. We praise the early riser who immediately checks the news. We admire the multitasker who plans their entire day before breakfast. We respect the disciplined individual who pushes through physical discomfort without complaint. But what serves the young and resilient may harm the elderly and vulnerable. The aging nervous system becomes more sensitive to stress, more reactive to stimuli, more easily overwhelmed by information overload. The morning rituals that once energized you might now be depleting your emotional reserves before the day has even truly begun. Throughout my years working with elderly patients, I've witnessed firsthand how transformative it can be when seniors recognize and replace these anxiety-inducing morning habits with gentler, more supportive. I've seen hands that once trembled with morning anxiety become steady. I've watched furrowed brows relax and worried eyes brighten. The change doesn't happen overnight, but with consistent attention to how we begin our days, remarkable healing is possible at any age. Anxiety is not an inevitable companion of aging, despite what many believe. It's true that certain life changes common in the elder years. Health concerns, loss of loved ones, decreased independence, can create fertile ground for worry to grow. But by identifying the daily triggers that feed anxiety, particularly those that occur in the vulnerable morning hours, we can reclaim a sense of peace that many seniors have forgotten is possible. The morning represents a daily opportunity to set a different tone, to choose a different path. It's a reset button we're given every 24 hours. And while changing long-standing habits requires patience and persistence, the reward of breaking free from anxiety's grip is well worth the. Let's explore these 5 common morning habits that may be silently amplifying your anxiety, and more importantly, discover what you can do instead to nurture a sense of calm and well-being as you begin each new day. Hello there, and welcome to our safe space where we can talk openly about anxiety and how it specifically affects us as we age. I'm so grateful you've joined me today for this important conversation about morning habits that might be secretly feeding your anxiety. Before we dive in, I want to acknowledge something. If you're struggling with anxiety as an older adult, you are far from alone. So many seniors battle these overwhelming feelings daily, often in silence, believing they should just tough it out, or that it's simply part of getting older. But that's not true. And recognizing that anxiety is not a normal part of aging is the first step toward finding. I want to thank you for taking this time for yourself today. In a world that often overlooks the emotional well-being of older adults, you're making a powerful statement by being here, that your mental health matters, that you deserve peace, that age should bring wisdom, not worry. This video is created with so much care and understanding of the unique challenges you face. As we age, our relationship with anxiety can change. The triggers might be different, the physical sensations might manifest in new ways, and the impact on our daily lives can feel more disruptive than ever before. That's why general advice about anxiety management often falls short for seniors. Your experience deserves specific attention and tailored strategy. Throughout our time together today, I want you to know that everything shared comes from a place of deep respect for your life journey. You've navigated decades of challenges and triumphs, and this wealth of experience is actually one of your greatest tools in managing anxiety. We'll tap into that wisdom while also introducing new approaches that honor the person you are today, not just who you were years ago. So, take a comfortable seat, perhaps with a warm cup of tea, and allow yourself to simply absorb what resonates with you. There's no pressure to implement everything at once. Small, gentle changes often create the most lasting impact, especially when it comes to morning routines that have been established over many years. In today's conversation, we're going to explore something that affects many seniors but is rarely discussed openly: how your morning routine might actually be intensifying feelings of anxiety without you even realizing it. This isn't about placing blame or adding another worry to your list. Rather, it's about shining a light on subtle patterns that might be undermining your sense of peace, especially during the vulnerable transition from sleep to wakefulness. Anxiety works in mysterious ways. Particularly, what worked for us in managing stress during our younger years might not serve us well in our golden years. Our nervous systems become more sensitive, our sleep patterns shift, and our bodies process stress hormones differently. These natural changes mean we need to adapt our daily habits, starting with how we begin each morning. The content we'll explore today comes from both scientific research on anxiety in older adults and from real-life experiences shared by seniors who have found relief by changing their morning approaches. I've spent years working with elderly individuals struggling with anxiety, and I've noticed certain patterns emerge again and again, specifically 5 morning habits that consistently seem to worsen anxiety symptoms for seniors. What makes this information so important is that these habits often masquerade as helpful or necessary parts of a productive morning. Some might even be activities you've been told are good for you. But context matters, and what benefits a younger person might not benefit someone in their golden years, especially if anxiety is already present. Throughout our discussion, we'll approach these topics with compassion and understanding. There's no judgment here about how you've been starting your days. Many of these habits developed for good reasons at earlier points in your life. But now, with the wisdom that comes with age, you have the opportunity to reassess whether these morning routines are truly serving your well-being. My hope is that by the end of our time together, you'll have a clearer understanding of how your morning activities might be affecting your anxiety levels, and more importantly, you'll have practical, gentle alternatives to try instead. These aren't dramatic lifestyle overhaul. They're subtle shifts that honor your existing routine while removing the elements that might be triggering unnecessary stress. Remember, anxiety doesn't have to be your constant companion in your elder years. With awareness and small, intentional changes to how you begin each day, you can experience more moments of peace and presence than you might currently believe possible. Let me share with you the 5 morning habits we'll be examining today. Habits that seem innocent enough, but might actually be feeding your anxiety without you realizing it. First, we'll look at how immediately checking the news or social media upon waking can trigger a stress response before your feet even hit the floor. The constant stream of negative headlines and troubling world events can be especially overwhelming for seniors, whose generation often feels a deep sense of responsibility for the state of the world. Second, we'll explore the impact of rushing through your morning routine, particularly how this affects the elderly body and nervous system. The pressure to maintain the same pace you had in younger years can create a physical stress response that lingers throughout the day. Third, we'll discuss how planning too many activities for the day ahead can create overwhelm before the day even begins. While staying active is vital for seniors, overcommitment is a common anxiety trigger that deserves careful attention. Fourth, we'll examine how ignoring physical discomfort in the morning, those aches and pains that might be more prominent when you first wake, can actually heighten anxiety rather than demonstrate strength or resilience. The mind-body connection becomes even more significant as we age, and acknowledging physical needs is crucial for emotional well-being. Finally, we'll talk about the impact of isolation during your morning routine, how beginning your day without meaningful connection can create a fertile ground for anxious thoughts to take root. This is especially relevant for elderly individuals who live alone or who have lost spouses and close friends. For each of these habits, we'll not only explain why it might be problematic for your anxiety level, but also offer compassionate, realistic alternatives that honor your life stage and circumstances. These aren't about adding complicated new routines to your. They're about simple shifts that can significantly reduce anxiety during those crucial early hours of. We'll also discuss how to personalize these alternatives to fit your specific situation, recognizing that every senior's living arrangement, health status, and personal preferences are unique. As we go through each habit, I encourage you to notice if you recognize yourself in these patterns. There's great power in simply becoming aware of routines that have become so automatic we no longer question them. That awareness is the first step toward positive change. And remember, you don't need to transform your entire morning at once. Even changing just one of these habits can create a noticeable difference in how you feel as you move through your day. The goal isn't perfection or rigid adherence to new rules. It's about creating a morning experience that nurtures rather than depletes you, that sets a tone of calm rather than anxiety for hours ahead. Let's begin by exploring each of these morning habits in depth, understanding their hidden impact on your nervous system, and discovering gentler alternatives that still accomplish what you need from your morning routine. Now let's dive deeper into understanding these 5 morning habits and how they might be affecting your anxiety level. The first habit that often increases anxiety for seniors is immediately reaching for news or social media upon wake. Think about it. Your brain is in a highly receptive state when you first wake up. The transition from sleep to wakefulness is delicate, and what you expose yourself to during these first moments can set the emotional tone for your entire day. When you immediately immerse yourself in news headlines, which are predominantly negative and alarming by design, you're essentially programming your brain for heightened alertness and worry. For seniors who grew up in eras where news was delivered once daily and was more carefully curated, today's 24/7 barrage of troubling information can be especially overwhelming. Your generation was taught to stay informed as a civic duty, but the modern news cycle exploits this sense of responsibility. Studies have shown that elderly individuals are particularly susceptible to the anxiety-inducing effects of negative news, as your life experience gives you a deeper understanding of the potential consequences of world events. Furthermore, many seniors report that news consumption triggers specific worries about the future their grandchildren will inherit, creating a burden of concern that younger adults might not feel as acutely. Social media presents its own challenges for elderly users. While it can be a valuable tool for connection, it can also expose you to polarizing opinions, family conflicts, or reminders of social gatherings you weren't included in. Many seniors describe feeling left behind by the rapid pace of online conversation, or confused by constantly changing social norms displayed on these platforms. Starting your day with these complex social dynamics can trigger feelings of isolation or inadequacy that feed anxiety. The second habit, rushing through your morning routine, might seem necessary rather than optional, especially if you're trying to maintain independence and efficiency. However, the aging body naturally requires more time to move through physical transition. When you push yourself to maintain the same pace you had decades, you're fighting against your body's natural rhythms, rather than honoring. This creates a physiological stress response, raising cortisol levels and triggering anxiety symptoms. Many seniors don't realize that the sensation of being behind schedule in the morning is often based on outdated expectations they've carried forward from their working. Without the demands of commuting or workplace schedule, there's rarely a true need for haste. Yet the ingrained habit of rushing persists, creating artificial time pressure that manifests as anxiety. This rushing often leads to increased muscular tension, shallow breathing, and a heightened state of alertness, all physical states that directly contribute to anxiety symptoms. The third habit, over-planning your day, stems from a laudable desire to remain active and productive in retirement years. Activity and purpose are indeed vital for mental health as we age. However, there's a crucial difference between healthy engagement and overcommitment. Many seniors fill their calendars as a way to prove their continued capability or to ward off fears of becoming irrelevant. This defensive scheduling doesn't account for the increased need for recovery time between activities that comes with aging. When you plan too many activities without sufficient rest period, you're setting yourself up for a cycle of anticipatory anxiety, as you worry about having enough energy to fulfill all your commitment. This anxiety then depletes the very energy you're trying to conserve, creating a self-defeating cycle. The fourth habit, ignoring physical discomfort, reflects a generational value of stoicism that many seniors were raised with. You were taught that acknowledging pain or discomfort was a sign of weakness, that pushing through was the mark of character and strength. While this approach might have served you well during your working years, it becomes increasingly counterproductive as you age. When you ignore the body's signals in the morning, whether it's joint stiffness, pain, digestive issues, or fatigue, you're forcing your nervous system to work harder to manage these sensations without conscious attention. This creates a background level of physical stress that manifests as anxiety. Many seniors don't connect their physical discomfort with their mental state, yet this mind-body relationship becomes more pronounced with age. The final habit, beginning the day in isolation, affects a significant percentage of elderly individuals, especially those who live alone. Humans are social creatures at every age, but the need for meaningful connection takes on special importance in senior years when roles and relationships have often undergone significant changes. Starting the day without any form of connection, whether in person, by phone, or even through a structured routine that provides a sense of belonging to something larger than yourself, creates a vacuum that anxious thoughts can quickly fill. The morning silence that might once have felt peaceful can become oppressive when it represents disconnection rather than tranquility. Many seniors report that their anxious rumination is most intense during solitary morning hours, when the day ahead stretches out with uncertain purpose or connection. Each of these 5 habits creates a different type of stress on your system, but they share a common effect. They activate your body's stress response during the vulnerable transition from sleep to full wakefulness, setting a foundation of anxiety that can persist throughout your day. By recognizing these patterns, you've already taken the first step toward changing them. Now let's explore what you might do instead to create mornings that support your emotional well-being, rather than undermining. I need to pause here and ask you something important. What time of day does anxiety usually hit you the hardest? You know, each person feels anxiety uniquely, and sharing this experience can be the first step to understanding it. I know you may have never talked about this with anyone. Maybe you think no one would understand, or that your feelings aren't important, but I want you to know that here, in this space, your experience matters deeply. Leave us a comment below completing the sentence. My anxiety usually appears when your courage in sharing might be exactly what another person needs to read today to feel less alone. And in upcoming videos, we'll address specifically those moments you share. This is a community of mutual support, where every word of yours is welcomed with respect and understanding. You know, I often hear from viewers that just putting their anxiety into words helps them feel a sense of relief, like naming something gives you a certain power over. And when you share that experience here, you're not just helping yourself, you're extending a hand to someone else who might be sitting alone right now, thinking they're the only one who feels this way. We seniors have walked long roads in life, and we've gathered wisdom along the way. Your insight about your own anxiety experience is valuable not just for you, but for others walking similar paths. So take a moment now, if you feel comfortable, to share when your anxiety tends to show up most strongly. Is it first thing in the morning? During mealtimes? In the evening as darkness falls? Or perhaps during specific activities? There's no right or wrong answer here, just your truth, which deserves to be heard. While you think about that, I'll continue sharing some practical alternatives to anxiety-feeding habits we've been discussing. Remember, small changes can make significant differences in how we experience our days, especially when those changes address the very beginning of our daily journey. Now let's explore some practical, gentle alternatives to these anxiety-producing morning habits. Approaches that honor your life stage and create a foundation of calm to carry you through. Instead of immediately reaching for news or social media when you wake up, consider creating a transition ritual, a simple routine that eases you from sleep to wakefulness without jarring your nervous system. This might begin with taking 3 deep breaths while still lying in bed, consciously feeling the support of your mattress. Express gratitude for a new day, even if it's simply acknowledging the gift of another morning. This primes your brain for positivity rather than anxiety. You might keep a favorite poem, prayer, or meditation on your nightstand to read before engaging with any electronic devices. Many seniors find that reading something timeless and uplifting creates an emotional buffer that helps them engage with current events later from a more centered place. If you enjoy staying informed, consider designating a specific time later in your day for news consumption, preferably not within the first hour of waking and not in the evening when it might disrupt sleep. Some seniors create a news budget, limiting their exposure to 15 to 30 minutes daily, focusing on sources that provide balanced reporting rather than sensationalism. For those who value connection through social media, consider replacing morning scrolling with a more direct form of connection, perhaps sending a personal good morning text to a loved one or calling a friend during breakfast. This satisfies the human need for connection without the potentially anxiety-producing effects of social media comparison or exposure to inflammatory content. To address the habit of rushing, the key alternative is building time cushions into your morning routine. If you've been allowing 30 minutes to get ready, experiment with allocating 45 minutes instead. This might feel indulgent at first, especially if you've spent decades maximizing every minute, but consider it a prescription for your mental health rather than an indulgence. Moving at a gentler pace significantly reduces stress hormones and allows your body's natural rhythms to unfold without resistance. Many seniors find it helpful to prepare certain elements of their morning the night before, laying out clothes, preparing a simple breakfast, or setting out medications, not to rush through the morning but to create space for a more mindful experience. Others find that incorporating gentle stretching into their morning routine helps ease physical transitions and signals to the body that there's no rush, that this new day is unfolding exactly as it should. Instead of overplanning your day, consider adopting a flexible framework. Rather than scheduling back-to-back activities, identify 1 or 2 priorities for the day and build in generous buffer time around them. Many seniors find it helpful to designate certain days for certain types of activities, perhaps Mondays for errands, Wednesdays for social engagements, and Fridays for creative pursuits. This creates a sense of structure without overwhelming your system with too many transitions in a single day. Another approach is the energy budget concept, recognizing that you have a finite amount of energy each day and allocating it mindfully. This might mean planning just one main activity daily, or balancing more demanding activities with restorative ones. The key is honoring your body's need for recovery time between engagements. something that becomes increasingly important with. Rather than ignoring physical discomfort, consider developing a morning body scan practice. While still in bed or just after rising, take a few minutes to check in with your body systematically from head to toe, noticing any areas of tension, pain, or stiffness without judgment. This simple practice of acknowledgement often reduces anxiety because it brings unconscious tension into awareness where it can be addressed. Based on what you discover in your body, you might incorporate specific gentle movements or self-care practices into your morning routine. This might include applying heat to stiff joints, gentle stretches for painful areas, or taking prescribed pain medication with enough time for it to take effect before you need to be active. Many seniors find that addressing physical discomfort proactively, rather than pushing through it, actually increases their capacity for enjoyable activities later in the day. To counter morning isolation, consider creating connection rituals that don't depend on others' availability. This might include reading a meaningful letter from a loved one, looking at family photos while having breakfast, or even talking to pets or plants. While these may seem like poor substitutes for human connection, they actually trigger many of the same neurological benefits in terms of reducing the stress response. For those comfortable with technology, morning video calls with family members can become a cherished routine, particularly with grandchildren before they leave for school, or adult children before they begin their workday. Others find that joining online forums specifically for seniors provides a sense of community and understanding that might be missing in their physical environment. Some elderly individuals create connection through service, perhaps calling another senior who is more isolated, or participating in volunteer opportunities that can be done from home, such as making supportive phone calls to those in need. This outward focus often reduces anxiety by shifting attention away from internal worries toward making a difference for others. These alternatives aren't about adding complicated new requirements to your mornings. They're about replacing anxiety-producing habits with nurturing. The goal is a morning routine that honors who you are now, with all your accumulated wisdom and changing needs, rather than trying to maintain patterns that no longer serve your well-being. Experiment gently with these alternatives, perhaps introducing just one change at a time, and notice how your anxiety levels respond. Remember that your nervous system has been accustomed to certain patterns, so new routines may take time to feel natural. Be patient with yourself as you explore these changes. Let's explore some specific aspects of anxiety that are particularly relevant to seniors, nuances that younger people experiencing anxiety might not fully understand. One distinct feature of anxiety in older adults is how it often manifests physically rather than emotionally. While younger individuals might identify feeling worried or fearful, many seniors primarily notice symptoms like increased heart rate, digestive issues, tension headaches, or difficulty breathing. These physical manifestations can be especially troubling when they mimic serious health conditions, creating a cycle where anxiety about health creates physical symptoms that then increase health anxiety. Morning time can amplify this connection, as the body naturally experiences changes in blood pressure, blood sugar, and hormones upon waking. Another unique aspect of anxiety for elderly individuals revolves around loss of independence. The morning routine serves as a daily barometer of capability. Can I still dress myself? Prepare my own breakfast? Remember my medications? Difficulties with these tasks due to physical limitations can trigger profound anxiety about the future and what additional capacities might be lost. This creates a situation where the very start of the day becomes a reminder of vulnerability rather than an opportunity for renewal. Many seniors also experience what geriatric mental health specialists call anticipatory anxiety, worry about potential problems that haven't happened yet, but could occur given their increased vulnerability. This forward-looking worry often peaks in the morning hours as seniors contemplate the challenges the day might bring. Will I fall today? Will I forget something important? Will I be able to manage if something unexpected happens? This anticipatory anxiety can be exhausting, depleting emotional resources before the day properly begins. The relationship between anxiety and memory presents another area of special concern for elderly individuals. Anxiety significantly impairs working memory and concentration, which can then lead to forgetfulness or confusion. Unfortunately, these normal anxiety-related memory lapses are often misinterpreted by seniors or their family members as signs of dementia, creating additional anxiety that further impairs cognitive function. This cycle frequently begins in the morning when trying to remember details of plans or the location of needed items. For many older adults, anxiety becomes intertwined with grief and loss. The morning hours, when the absence of deceased spouses or friends might be most palpable, can trigger waves of both grief and anxiety about continuing life alone. The empty chair at the breakfast table, the missing morning conversation, the absence of shared routines. These can all become powerful anxiety triggers specific to the elder experience. Sleep disruption represents another complex factor in senior anxiety. Many elderly individuals experience changes in sleep architecture, including more fragmented sleep and earlier waking. Poor sleep quality directly increases anxiety, and anxiety in turn worsens sleep, creating a difficult cycle. Waking too early and lying in bed worrying becomes a breeding ground for anxious thoughts that can then color the entire day ahead. Social factors also influence anxiety patterns in unique ways for seniors. Retirement often means the loss of structured interaction and purpose that work provided. Family members may be busy with their own lives, and friends may have moved away or passed on. This reduction in social engagement can leave more mental space for anxious rumination, particularly during solitary morning hours when the day stretches ahead without clear structure or purpose. Cultural and generational factors play important roles as well. Many seniors were raised in eras when mental health challenges were stigmatized and rarely discussed openly. The tendency to view anxiety as a character weakness rather than a health condition can prevent elderly individuals from seeking support or even acknowledging their experience. Instead, they may label their anxiety as nerves or attribute all symptoms to physical causes, missing opportunities for effective intervention. Financial concerns present another anxiety trigger particularly relevant to seniors on fixed income. The morning hours, when one might review bills or financial statements, can trigger profound worry about having enough resources to last through remaining years, especially given uncertainties about future health costs or longevity. In an era of rising costs and economic volatility, these concerns affect an increasing number of elderly individuals. By understanding these specific aspects of anxiety in the elder years, we can better tailor our morning approaches to address the real triggers that might be affecting you. The alternatives we've discussed aren't just general anxiety management techniques. They're specifically designed to address the unique challenges that seniors face as they transition from sleep to the activities of daily living. Recognizing your experience in these patterns can help validate what you're feeling and guide you toward the most effective changes to your morning routine. The most powerful revelation I want to share today is something many seniors find transformative. Anxiety is not an inevitable part of age. Despite widespread misconceptions, the research is clear. Anxiety disorders actually decrease in prevalence among healthy older adults compared to their middle-aged counterparts. What does increase is the impact of anxiety when it does occur, as well as certain types of worry related specifically to health, independence, and mortality. This distinction is crucial because it shifts our understanding from accepting anxiety as normal to recognizing it as addressable. The morning habits we've discussed aren't just minor inconveniences. They're significant factors that can either trigger or soothe your nervous system during its most vulnerable daily transition. When we understand that morning anxiety isn't simply part of getting older, we open the door to meaningful intervention rather than resignation. Another vital revelation concerns the brain's remarkable plasticity, even in advanced age. While it's true that certain cognitive processes change as we age, the brain's ability to form new neural pathways, to learn and adapt, remains intact throughout life. This means that even if you've experienced morning anxiety for years or decades, your brain can still learn new response patterns. The calming morning alternatives we've discussed aren't just coping mechanisms, they're actually training your brain to establish new neural pathways that bypass the anxiety response. With consistent practice, these pathways become stronger and more automatic, while the anxiety pathways weaken from disuse. This neuroplasticity explains why many seniors report that what feels forced or unnatural at first gradually becomes their new normal with continued practice. The third key revelation involves the unique advantage that seniors have in managing anxiety, the perspective that comes with decades of life experience. While younger adults often lack context for their worries, elderly individuals can draw on a lifetime overcoming challenges. You've navigated world events, personal losses, health challenges, and countless transitions. This resilience isn't just a platitude, it's a neurological reality, reflected in research showing that many seniors demonstrate greater emotional regulation capacity than younger adults, particularly in situations that allow for reflection, rather than requiring immediate reaction. The morning hours, when approached mindfully, offer exactly this opportunity for reflection rather than reaction. Perhaps the most practical revelation is about the profound connection between physical comfort and emotional state in elderly individuals. The research in this area is compelling. Addressing physical discomfort, particularly in the morning hours, has a disproportionately positive effect on anxiety levels throughout the day for seniors. This isn't merely about pain management, though that's certainly important. It's about honoring the body's changing needs, rather than fighting against them. Simple adjustments like allowing extra time for morning stiffness to eat, ensuring proper temperature regulation during the vulnerable transition from sleep to wakefulness, and addressing sensory sensitivities that may have increased with age can dramatically reduce the physical triggers that activate the anxiety response. Finally, there's an important revelation about the relationship between purpose and anxiety in the elder years. Studies consistently show that seniors who maintain a sense of purpose, a reason to rise each morning, experience significantly less anxiety than those who lack clear purpose. However, this purpose doesn't need to involve grand achievement or busy schedule. In fact, simple, meaningful morning rituals, whether tending plants, writing in a journal, praying or meditating, or preparing to engage with loved ones, can provide sufficient purpose to activate the brain's reward systems, rather than its threat detection systems during those crucial early hours of the day. These revelations combine to offer a powerful message of hope. With thoughtful attention to your morning routine, you can significantly reduce anxiety's grip on your daily experience. The changes we've discussed aren't merely preferences or comforts. They're science-backed approaches that address the specific ways anxiety manifests in the elder years, particularly during the vulnerable transition from sleep to wakefulness. By implementing even one or two of these changes, you're not just coping with anxiety, you're actively rewiring your brain's response patterns toward greater calm and well-being, regardless of your age or how long you've been experiencing morning anxiety. Let me share some additional information that might be helpful as you consider making changes to your morning routine. First, it's important to understand that anxiety in seniors can sometimes be related to medication side effects or interactions, particularly with medications commonly taken first thing in the morning. If you notice that your anxiety seems to spike shortly after taking your morning medications, it's worth discussing this timing with your healthcare provider. Sometimes, simply adjusting when certain medications are taken can make a significant difference in morning anxiety levels. Some medications known to potentially increase anxiety include certain blood pressure medications, steroids, thyroid medications, and some respiratory drugs. This doesn't mean you should stop taking prescribed medications, but awareness of this connection can help you problem solve with your doctor. Another important consideration is the role of morning nutrition in anxiety management for seniors. Blood sugar fluctuations can trigger or exacerbate anxiety symptoms, and many elderly individuals are particularly sensitive to these fluctuations. A morning routine that delays eating or relies on high-sugar breakfast foods can create physical stress that manifests as anxiety. Incorporating protein and complex carbohydrates into your breakfast can help stabilize blood sugar and provide a more even foundation for emotional well-being throughout the day. The timing of caffeine consumption also deserves special attention. While younger adults might metabolize caffeine relatively quickly, this process often slows significantly with age. This means that the cup of coffee that once helped you feel alert without side effects might now be contributing to feelings of anxiety. Many seniors find that delaying caffeine consumption until after breakfast, reducing the amount, switching to half decaf, or replacing coffee with green tea, which contains L-theanine, a compound that moderates caffeine's effects, can reduce morning anxiety without sacrificing the pleasure of a warm morning beverage. Light exposure represents another crucial factor in morning well-being for seniors. Adequate morning light helps regulate circadian rhythms, which tend to shift with age. Many elderly individuals find that their sleep-wake cycles advance, causing earlier waking, or become fragmented. Exposure to natural light within the first hour of waking helps stabilize these rhythms and triggers the production of serotonin, a neurotransmitter that helps regulate mood and anxiety. Even on days when you can't go outdoors, sitting near a window or using a light therapy box designed for this purpose can make a significant difference. For seniors with mobility limitations that affect their morning routine, adaptive equipment can help reduce the anxiety that comes from struggling with basic tasks. Simple tools like long-handled reachers, dressing sticks, elastic shoelaces, or shower chairs can transform frustrating, anxiety-producing morning activities into manageable ones. Many seniors resist using these tools out of concern that accepting help signals decline, but reframing them as energy conservation tools rather than disability markers can help overcome this resistance. Temperature regulation deserves special mention as well. The aging body often becomes more sensitive to temperature fluctuations, and the transition from the warmth of bed to the cooler air of the bedroom can trigger a stress response that contributes to morning anxiety. Something as simple as keeping a robe and slippers within easy reach, using a bedroom space heater during morning routines in winter months, or preparing a warm, not hot morning shower or bath can ease this physical transition and reduce the associated anxiety. For seniors who take multiple medications in the morning, pill organization systems can significantly reduce anxiety about making mistakes. The cognitive load of remembering which medications to take when can be substantial, and worry about errors can create significant morning stress. Using weekly pill organizers, setting specific alarms for different medications, or using medication management apps can transfer this cognitive burden to external systems, freeing mental energy and reducing anxiety. The social component of morning routines is especially important for elderly individuals living with partners or family members. Mismatched morning preferences. When one person desires quiet reflection while another wants active conversation, can create interpersonal tension that anxiety. Having explicit, compassionate conversations about morning needs and preferences can help create routines that honor everyone's well-being without creating additional stress. For those who provide morning care for elderly loved ones, understanding the anxiety impact of rushing or impersonal assistance is crucial. Allowing ample time for morning care, providing choices wherever possible, and maintaining dignity through conversation and connection during assistance can dramatically reduce the anxiety that often accompanies dependency in morning routines. It's also worth noting that seasonal changes can significantly impact morning anxiety for many seniors. The darker mornings of winter months can exacerbate feelings of isolation or sadness, while the earlier light of summer might disrupt sleep patterns. Being conscious of these seasonal effects and making appropriate adjustments to your morning routine can help maintain emotional equilibrium throughout the year. If you identified with what we talked about today and you're looking for natural ways to calm your mind and live with more peace, our channel is a safe space created especially for you. Each week we share simple and effective techniques that have helped thousands of people recover their inner peace. We're together on this journey, and every step you take toward wellness matters. Click the subscribe button below and activate notifications to receive our videos as soon as they're published. Remember, you don't need to face anxiety alone, and small changes can make a big difference in your quality of life. Think about how your mornings might transform if you implemented just one or two of the changes we've discussed today. Imagine waking up and having those first moments be ones of peace rather than worry, of gentle transition rather than jarring stress. Picture yourself moving through your morning at a pace that honors your body's needs, attending to physical comfort rather than ignoring discomfort, connecting meaningfully with yourself or others rather than immediately diving into negative news. This isn't a fantasy. It's a very achievable reality that many seniors have created for themselves through mindful attention to their morning habits. Our channel exists to support you on this journey toward greater peace, not just in the morning, but throughout your day. We understand the unique challenges that come with managing anxiety in the elder years, and every video we create is designed with these specific needs in mind. The community that gathers here shares a common experience, the desire to live with greater calm and joy in their golden years, free from the unnecessary burden of chronic anxiety. When you,